The night did not announce their arrival. No sirens. No noise. Just boots pressing into sand, engines humming low, radios whispering coded words as Nigerian troops slipped deeper into one of the most dangerous pieces of land in the northeast, the infamous Timbuktu Triangle in Borno State. This was not a routine patrol. This was not a reaction to an attack. This was a deliberate hunt. A mission to break the backbone of terror where it had hidden for years. Every meter forward meant risk. Every bush could hide danger. But the soldiers kept moving, steady, disciplined, focused. Their objective was clear: take back territory, crush terrorist structures, and expose whatever evil had been buried in silence for too long. Then the ground began to speak. Inside the notorious Goroba camp, troops uncovered something chilling. 3 hidden detention facilities. Each one carved crudely into the earth, each one divided into small cells that told stories without words, stories of captivity, fear, and people who had vanished without a trace. These were not just empty spaces. These were scars left behind by terror. The discoveries came as troops tightened their grip across strategic areas stretching through Terry, Karelia, and the Ajejin-Abama axis, zones that had long terrified civilians and challenged security forces. For years, communities nearby lived knowing that danger slept just beyond their farms and footpaths. Attacks were planned there. Hostages were held there. Fear lived there. But now, the balance was shifting. As the troops pressed forward, the terrorists felt the pressure closing in. Some tried to escape under the cover of thick vegetation and twisting tracks. They didn't get far. Contact was made. Weapons spoke. The clash was brief but intense, and several terrorists were neutralized as they attempted to flee. The message was clear: the safe haven was collapsing. The environment itself seemed alive with tension. Dust rose as armored vehicles rolled forward. Bushes rustled with every movement. Soldiers advanced in coordinated formations, eyes sharp, fingers steady, minds alert. This wasn't just another operation. This was about denying terror any breathing space. About ensuring innocent families could one day sleep without fear. Then, just when the troops were consolidating their gains, danger struck from nowhere. On January 20th, while forces were securing a position near Habo, about 6 kilometers north of Kaileria, 2 vehicle-borne explosive threats were detected moving rapidly toward the defensive line. These were not ordinary threats. These were suicide vehicles designed for maximum destruction within seconds. There was no time for hesitation. Training kicked in. Coordination snapped into place. One of the explosive vehicles was successfully neutralized before it could reach the position, an action that almost certainly saved lives. But the second threat broke through the defensive perimeter and struck part of the logistics area. The impact shook the zone. Equipment was damaged. And tragically, lives were lost. Among the fallen were brave soldiers and members of the Civilian Joint Task Force, local volunteers who put everything on the line to protect their communities. These are not just names on a list. These are fathers, sons, brothers, neighbors. Ordinary people who chose courage over comfort, service over safety, hope over fear. Yet even in grief, there was no chaos. Response was swift and organized. Nigerian Army aviation helicopters moved in immediately, lifting the wounded and transporting them to medical facilities. Medics worked under pressure, stabilizing patients, racing against time. Above them, Nigerian Air Force platforms maintained constant overwatch, securing the airspace, monitoring movements, and preventing further threats. On the ground, troops regrouped, strengthened their positions, and continued the mission. The operation did not stop. And then another discovery emerged, one that silently exposed the lie behind terrorist propaganda. As cleared areas were searched, troops stumbled upon mass burial sites hidden within the Timbuktu Triangle. About 20 bodies of terrorists who had been killed in previous encounters were found buried by their own fighters. It was a grim reminder that behind the loud claims of strength and dominance, the reality told a different story. Losses were heavy. Pressure was working. The myth of invincibility was cracking. For nearby communities, the discovery stirred mixed emotions. Relief that terror camps were being destroyed. Pain from memories of years lost to violence and displacement. Many residents had endured sleepless nights, abandoned farms, broken homes, and forced migrations. Some stayed trapped between fear and survival. Others fled with nothing but hope. Now, slowly, cautiously, hope was returning. Quiet conversations among residents reflected gratitude for the troops and prayers for the fallen. Every dismantled camp meant fewer attacks. Every destroyed detention cell meant fewer innocent lives lost to captivity. Every kilometer reclaimed meant a step closer to stability. Security analysts say the gains are significant. Controlling corridors like Karelia, Ajejin, and Abama disrupts terrorist movement, weakens supply routes, and limits their ability to regroup. But the use of explosive vehicles also shows that desperation can make the enemy unpredictable and dangerous. This battle, however, is not fought by the military alone. Terror thrives in isolation, poverty, fear, and misinformation. It hides in difficult terrain and sometimes feeds on silence or forced cooperation. That's why community vigilance remains critical. Residents are encouraged to report strange movements, abandoned vehicles, unfamiliar faces, and suspicious activity. Information saves lives. Unity protects communities. There is also a growing call to support the families of fallen heroes and ensure proper care for the wounded and emotional support for those returning from the front lines. Sacrifice must never be forgotten. Courage must always be honored. The military maintains that security across the wider region remains stable. Morale remains strong. Operations continue relentlessly as forces remain determined to dismantle terror networks and restore lasting peace. And so, as dust settles across the Timbuktu Triangle, the story continues. Paths once ruled by fear are being reclaimed. Camps once hidden are collapsing. Silent cells are being erased. The cost has been heavy, but the resolve is heavier. Progress is real, but patience is required. Peace will not arrive overnight, but every cleared camp, every secured village, every protected life pushes the future closer to stability. The soldiers remain on the move, alert, focused, unbroken. Communities watch with cautious optimism. And the nation is reminded again that defending peace requires courage, unity, sacrifice, and unwavering determination. One step forward. One victory at a time. And the tide continues to turn.